Work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order.
Giving you my two.
In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, November 12th, 2013. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public, is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we gather here today as members of the Township Council, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make the world a better place. And may we always test ourselves in our efforts to be sure they are the truth, good for all concerned, of benefit to mankind, and provide peace and understanding. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll of the council.
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois.
Here.
Councilman Kramer.
Here.
Mayor Levine.
Here.
Councilman Prasad. Councilman Regan.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sherman.
Here.
Councilman Vasanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, thank you very much. We are following along on our agenda. You can feel free to come up and take them at any time, along with the associated resolutions and ordinances. Don't feel it's being rude. You can get up any time and get that. You can also follow along. Usually the weekend before the meeting, we have our agenda on the website, so you can always look over there also. So we are now at item number 5 on the agenda, commendations and proclamations, and I'm holding off on number 1. Still, right? Just I'm waiting for an arrival or two. Okay, so we'll go on to the other ones there. Number 2, presentation of grant check to Second Chance for Animals from the Community Foundation, and Councilman James Vasanella will join me.
Oh.
Yes, can I help you? You looking for the checks? What? We do have a check. Oh, the one made out of cash?
We're just trying to find the check that we are presenting to Second Chance for Animals tonight.
It was big. It was big?
Now, with all the police in the room tonight, I'm sure no one's going to get away with taking it.
Oh, better move on to something else.
Did we want to proceed with this or wait for a moment?
I think it is. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. He had the folders mixed up. He had my folder. Ah, there it is.
We've located the check. Okay.
I just noticed, I'm like, what's my folder over there?
The community,
Put it in the folder.
the Community Foundation is an organization that was started, probably 15 years ago, more or less, mainly sponsored by Heller Corporation. large corporation which has a big presence in Franklin and other areas in New Jersey. And basically, they put up a large sum of money to start the foundation, and make a long story short, we're able to give very few and very small grants to different groups in Franklin with special, specific need that benefits the community. At the same time, unfortunately, doesn't fall under any other funding category or grant capability, at least at the time that they're trying to get funding for a particular program. We've given out a handful of these small but significant grants over the years. This is actually the third one we're given the Second Chance for Animals. And 4 council members, a representative from Heller Corporation, which unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. Hopefully he'll come again, because they really are the reason that we're able to have this in Franklin. Mayor Levine, Councilman Prasad, who's not here tonight, Councilwoman Francois, and myself, who's been the chair / president of the foundation for a while, but we all work very, very closely together. So that's what the group is, in case people are wondering what the Community Foundation is. And this program basically allows people that may otherwise have had to give up their pets one way or another, or able to keep them because of a program. I'll let them explain, where this money, along with some other contributions, allows the food bank to distribute food for pets, which is important, especially after things like a hurricane, when the economy, when the fiscal crisis hit and we had a recession. It allows people to have pets. And like I said, I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about it, but I just wanted to present, this is a check for $2,000, which my understanding is significant in helping the program keep intact here in Franklin. And it all goes towards Franklin residents. Please, you tell.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Pisano. I'm the president of the Second Chance for Animals, and this check means so much to us and the families in Franklin. And, you know, we started probably about 5 years ago at the food bank. We've thought, if people are going to the food bank for themselves, what about the people who have animals? What are they feeding their animals? It's grown to over 300 families that we provide food for their dogs and cats. And, you know, it's just a wonderful program, and we are just so happy to get this check, because it just means so much to us. And, you know, we do volunteer work throughout the township and the shelter, and we really appreciate the support of the council. They've just been wonderful to us, and, you know, we're really happy. So anyone who needs any dogs or cats, please come to the shelter and give a homeless animal a new home. Thank you so much, everybody.
And I imagine people can also contribute specifically to Second Chance, or even to the food bank, targeting this program in a financial contribution?
Absolutely. Any donations are well appreciated to either Second Chance, we're the nonprofit in the township, or to the local animal shelter right across. And, you know, they do great work there, and, you know, we're really supportive. So any donations, greatly appreciated. We do pictures with Santa, in case anyone's interested. The Samson G. Smith School, the first 3 Saturdays in December, and I'm Santa, so we'll make sure we get really good pictures with your dogs or cats.
Thank you very much. Good luck with the program. I believe the largest recipient to date from Community Foundation grants. Okay, thank you.
And that small amount that was donated by Heller Foundation was $100,000. That's not a small amount to me.
Did I say small amount? No, it's significant. If I said small amount, I meant significant amount, and that allows us to continue to make small grants like this. Thank you very much.
Okay. It's not working?
Trails. Human traffic. They're doing one for trails. They do the trails guy. Phil is.
I don't know. That's all I know.
They're giving one, I think, to Frank McLaughlin and John Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed it when she said she put it in the... Are you sure? I know it's like my name's on that folder.
Yes, Second Chance appreciate all the help you give. They're a great organization, and frankly, I don't know, we could run our animal shelter without the committed group of volunteers, so thanks so much. And I guess it's probably on our website, all that you can contribute to Second Chance in our animal shelter also. So, on our agenda, we're going to go to 5D, Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, be given by Councilman Dr. Phil Kramer.
Whereas in 2013, an estimated 45,220 people will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in the United States, and 38,460 will die from the disease. And whereas pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest cancers, is the fourth leading cause of cancer death in the United States, and is the only major cancer with a 5-year relative survival rate in the single digits at just 6%. And whereas when symptoms of pancreatic cancer present themselves, it is in the late stage, and 73% of pancreatic cancer patients die within the first year of their diagnosis, while 94% of pancreatic cancers die within the first 5 years. And whereas approximately 1,180 deaths will occur in New Jersey in 2013. And whereas the incidence and death rate of pancreatic cancer are increasing, and pancreatic cancer is anticipated to move from the fourth to the second leading cause of cancer death in the United States by 2020. And whereas the United States Congress passed the Recalcitrant Cancer Research Act last year, which calls on the National Cancer Institute to develop a scientific framework or strategy plans for pancreatic cancer and other deadly cancers, which will provide the strategic direction and guidance needed to make true progress against these diseases. And whereas the Pancreatic Cancer Act Network is the national organization serving the pancreatic cancer community in Franklin Township and nationwide throughout a comprehensive approach that includes public policy, research funding, patient services, and public awareness and public education related to the development of effective treatments and a cure for pancreatic cancer. And whereas the Pancreatic Cancer Act Network and its affiliates in Franklin Township support those patients currently battling pancreatic cancer, as well as those who have lost their lives to the disease and are committed to nothing less than a cure. And whereas the good health and well-being of the residents of the Township of Franklin are enhanced as a direct result of increased awareness about pancreatic cancer and research into early detection, causes, and effective treatments. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the Township Council of the Township of Franklin designate the month of November 2013 as Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. Is there anyone here to receive this? I can tell from personal experience as a doctor, it is a terrible disease, and it isn't just a rapid death, but it is often a very uncomfortable death. So any efforts towards its cure and treatment are certainly welcome.
Missing one sergeant.
We're in town proclaiming January 11th as Human Trafficking Awareness Day to raise this, and Councilman Brian Regan is going to read part of our proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas human trafficking is a borderless crime against individuals that violate the most basic human rights and deprives victims of every shred of personal freedom. And whereas human trafficking occurs when a person is recruited, harbored, obtained, or exported through force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of sexual or labor exploitation, involuntary servitude, and other types of mental and physical abuse. And whereas human traffickers target impoverished and marginalized children, women and men, isolating them from society and supportive networks and exploiting them for personal and monetary gain. Whereas the Township of Franklin is resolved to support the goals and ideas of observing a National Day of Human Trafficking Awareness on January 11th of each year, and to support efforts by individuals, businesses, organizations, and governing bodies to raise awareness of and opposition to human trafficking. And whereas the Township commends the work of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking for its statewide effort to end human trafficking through education, advocacy, and assistance to survivors, and to increase coordination and visibility of New Jersey's commitment to end human trafficking. Now, therefore, I, Brian Regan, and Mayor Brian D. Levine, on behalf of the Township Council, do hereby proclaim January 11th of each year as Human Trafficking Awareness Day in the Township of Franklin, to raise awareness about the signs and consequences of human trafficking, to promote opposition to human trafficking in all of its forms, and to encourage support for the survivors of human trafficking throughout the state of New Jersey and across the world, to put an end to this criminal activity and restore freedom and dignity to its survivors. Recently, there actually has been a number of, on the History Channel and Discovery, there's been a number of shows and reports on this topic, on human trafficking. And it really is terrible. In its cruelest form, children. We have countless, thousands, tens of thousands of children, if not hundreds of thousands, are used for terrible things because of human trafficking. It really is the responsibility and the right for all of us to really understand what happens, in certain types of businesses that use children for labor or for other type of situations. It's really a very terrible thing, and probably one of the most disgusting acts I could think of one human doing to another human. So, it really is good that this was brought to our attention, and the council has taken this to proclaim January 11th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, can Councilman Kramer, regarding our Trails Advisory Committee, and a couple significant members.
Well, only one of those receiving the award is here. So, Mayor Clyde, Councilman, Mayor, were you ever on Planning Board or Zoning Board, or? Having done everything in Franklin at one point in time, Mr. Clyde. By the way, for the local people, we've been told the sound is not going out live, but it is being recorded, so hopefully that will be fixed soon. Commendation, whereas Franklin Township is blessed with 60 miles of beautiful trails, and whereas the mission of Franklin Township Trails Advisory Committee is to monitor the condition of the township trails and promote their use, and whereas increased use of these trails increases people's understanding of the value of being good stewards of our environment, as well as increasing their personal well-being and health. And whereas John Clyde has been a member of the Trails Advisory Committee since its inception on April 26, 2005, and whereas John Clyde was the committee's first chairperson, and under his leadership, the Trails Advisory Committee's Pathway and Trails Plan was adopted into the township's master plan, and the Township Adopt a Trail program was initiated. And whereas his additional contributions are too numerous to mention, that is of course true. Now therefore, be it resolved that Councilman Philip Kramer and Mayor Brian D. Levine, on behalf of the Township Council and along with the Franklin Township Trails Advisory Committee, regretfully accept John Clyde's resignation from the Trails Advisory Committee, and we do so, however, with great anticipation of his contribution to the trails, appreciation of his contribution to the trail system and to the township as a whole. And I will add that the reason he resigned was just so others could participate as members, and he has announced that he expects to still attend the meetings and continue to participate. So it was a magnanimous resignation, and here is your proclamation, Mr. Clyde. Would you have anything to say?
Very briefly, I was a little late tonight because I was with a friend who, at the very end of the conversation, was telling me about how she loved hiking the trails of Franklin Township with her son. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Middlesex County with some friends, and a guy from Highland Park who I had never met before said, "Hey, go over to Franklin. They've got beautiful trails in Franklin." And there are people like John Luce, people like Frank McLaughlin, who hopefully will be here tonight, who are with this committee since its inception, who did so much to make this possible. And I finally want to end by thanking this council for two things. Well, three things. One, for all its support over all these many years. Without guys like Phil Kramer and the mayor and members of the council, we wouldn't have gotten anything done without them having our backs. Number two, see, I'm getting old now. I can't remember what I was going to say anymore. But be that as it may, I want to thank the council for this. You're not getting rid of me. I'm still going to be going to the meetings, may duck out a little early now and then. And I just want to say that we also have a very, very photogenic council up there, even Mr. Raynone. The other thing, I finally remembered. The other thing the council did that I would be totally remiss not to mention is they hired our new open space consultant, Fran Vaccarelli, who's in the back of the room. Give her a round of applause because she deserves it.
And the last thing, he receives a Franklin Township Trails cap.
Thank you. Hey, I want one of those. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Councilman Kramer, and for our former mayor, John Clyde. On a personal note, when I came here and was new, Mayor Clyde was very kind to me and told me all those many, many things which I did not know, and I'm sure don't step up to your knowledge as it is. And he was here when the open space committee started and the trails. I've seen him at many scouting events. He's just overall guy who contributes to our town, and I aspire to be the statesman that you are someday. I don't think I'll reach that.
You are a gentleman statesman.
And now I'll be joined by our Deputy Mayor, Rosalind Sherman, and of course our Clerk, Ms. McCarthy, our Chief, Larry Roberts, for our new Sergeant, Sean Hebben of our fantastic Franklin Township Police Department.
I, Sean Hebben,
I, Sean Heaven,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
Sergeant
Sergeant
of the Franklin Township Police Department
of the Franklin Township Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my
So
ability.
help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I want to thank the men and women of the Franklin Township Police Department for all their hard work and all their support, and to my governing body for allowing me to replace the vacancies as they come up. I also want to recognize somebody. We have Giles Shipp here tonight. He's friends with Sean and me. I've known him 26 years. He was a former director in Plainfield and the president of Noble, so thanks for coming tonight, Giles. Sean is Sean's 17-year member of the force. He was assigned to the Detective Bureau before being promoted to the rank of sergeant, and he worked with the FBI on the human trafficking child pornography task force, which I give him a lot of credit, because someone like me, I couldn't do that every day when you look at crimes against children. But he did a fine job with that. But I'm even more proud of Sean because, and I wasn't going to say this, but I am. Last time, Sean took the promotion exam, and he really wanted it. And he didn't do as well as he thought he should have in the interview. And me and him ran into each other in the hallway. And he thanked me for the opportunity like a gentleman. And he said that it was run very fairly, and he totally understands. And I looked at him and I said, if you really want it, don't sulk, move on, keep on working hard, and next time it'll come to you. And here's the fruits of the labor right here. I don't have to say any more. So I'm proud of him. I'm proud of his determination. He's responsible. He's mature. He is going to midnight shift, like all new side. I want to make sure I reinstill that, because some of them get amnesia sometimes of where they're going to go. So he will go to the midnight shift under Lieutenant Reiner, who's back there, who will teach him everything. And I have the utmost confidence in Sean, like I do all the other officers. And I wish him the best of luck. And I thank everybody for coming out tonight. Congratulations.
Thanks, Chief. Congratulations, Sergeant. Great always to see our men and women in blue here. And, Sergeant, I hope you don't mind. I know it's your day, but when your wife was here holding the Bible, if she looked very natural on camera, you might see her as a legal analyst on many news shows in New York, so that's why she may be looking familiar there. And, okay. Again, appreciate it. And as I've told you, when I've gone around the state, I always tell everyone how our police force is number one, the best. I get arguments from other mayors sometimes, but I do stand my ground. So thank you very much.
Okay, Mayor's report. Okay. Are we ready to move on?
Yes. Okay. So we are now at item number 6 on the agenda, the mayor's report. And my mug for this meeting is from the Latino Leadership Alliance. They're a great group in the state. They had their annual event a couple weeks ago. I represented Franklin there. Their president, Martine Perez, is the newest member of Rutgers Board of Governors. So congratulations to them. Generally, our meetings are on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. That'll be the case in November. In December, there's only one meeting, the second Tuesday of the month. And we'll have a special reorganization meeting January 1st, right here in the council chambers at 2 p.m. That's where we'll do some business and organize. I think then our meeting in January is the first Tuesday of the month, as opposed to the second, so we can make many of our appointments, et cetera. Interesting note, of no significance at all, but today as we film this, the date is 11/12/13, so that's a good one to have. We just had an election a week ago as we filmed this, November 5th, so as always, I congratulate those who ran, whether they won or lost, he or she were trying to make a difference. I believe most all. Same gender marriages are now the law in New Jersey. And in Franklin, we were one of the first ones in central New Jersey to do one. And actually, I think we're one of the leaders. I've done a few. The deputy mayor is on the verge, about to do one on the next day. So I think we're one of the leaders. A great event recently, this past weekend, as we filmed, was the Masjid Ali Mosque on Cedar Grove Lane. Had a program inviting Muslims and Jews to stand up against all kinds of prejudice and bigotry, and to point out if anyone is doing that, it's our obligation to step up and let people know. Many Rutgers students, many members of the community, they let me address them. I am pleased that and honored that they let me do that. A more local level, the library had their book sale, which they continue to break all records for visitors, for items circulated, and they certainly always take advice on anything that has to be done. We saw members of Second Chance for Animals getting money for the food bank. So let's remember the food bank. Thanksgiving is coming. The economy is still in the doldrums. There are those of us who are not as fortunate as others. So let's certainly remember them. The bins are all over town for donation, and certainly their cash contributions do them well. You can find out information about our town and things coming up on our website. It is very good and is improving all the time. On a personal level, I try and put things out, sometimes fun, sometimes real, on my website, not my website, I'm sorry, my Facebook or Twitter. And as always, we're all open for you to contact us, email, phone, to serve you in any way that we can. Again, on January 1st, technically it's a new council, but the composition will not change, but we will have the swearing in of our newly elected council people then. Again, all are welcome. And that concludes the mayor's report. So now we go to the deputy mayor's report. Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The mayor did mention the election, and I was one of the 5 council people that were reelected. In fact, we were all reelected, and I just wanted to thank all of my supporters and all of the people in my ward who expressed their confidence in reelecting me, and I look forward to spending another 4 years here serving the township and the 2nd Ward. A couple of little bits here, something to be very proud of. The township of Franklin, well, Somerset in particular, one of the best towns in New Jersey for young families. It was one of 8 or 9 communities that were chosen. The criteria were public schools, can you afford to live there, and is the town growing and prospering? So it is really very gratifying that Somerset was selected. It's the write-up basically says the surrounding area is home to big employers, and commuters drive an hour to get to Manhattan. Top industries include pharmaceuticals, technology, communications. It also includes 13,000 acres of parks where residents can play golf, picnic, hike, bike, and swim. So I think it's wonderful that we've been recognized, and we look forward to more families moving in. Just wanted to mention an article in the paper about a vintage Dutch barn finds a new home, a structure that is being assembled at the Rockingham site, a 19th century building that was stored and has been assembled using 21st century know-how. And so it looks like the Rockingham area is going to be the host of concerts and other lectures and other programs. Might be a place for cultural arts to hold some programs in the future. So it's wonderful, and I suggest that those of us who haven't been there, including myself, find their way down there and check it out. Also wanted to just mention our fellow councilperson, Rajiv Prasad, has gone in for a operation, and we wish him a speedy recovery, and we send him our best wishes. So I'm sure that comes not only from the council, but from all residents of Franklin. And that's my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Regan?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to move up item number 11-1, the BGIA presentation, to now into the agenda, and then continue with the agenda afterwards.
Okay, because we've got a representative who's going to make a presentation. Right, okay. That's motion to amend the agenda, so we hear BGIA 11-1 at this point. So is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Okay, so we'll hear from Mr. Migden and from BGIA, and then we'll go back to the agenda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve the Township of Franklin with their health insurance needs. We appreciate that opportunity and enjoy working on your case very much. I did provide a summary for each of you so that I can quickly review how things went for your January 1st, 2014 renewal. Let me start with the medical and say to you that with the Patient Protection and Affordability Care Act going into effect on 1/1/14 for many additional fees and taxes, that I'm very pleased to let you know that even with those taxes, which are about 4.5% a year for one's health insurance plan, that Horizon initially provided you with a 10.8% increase, where if you would take the 4.5% out of that, it's really about a 6% increase, and that would be a competitive increase. However, we negotiated on your behalf, went out to the marketplace, and continued to work with Horizon to bring your renewal to a 0% increase, and that includes the 4.5% that they're going to pay, Horizon's going to pay on your behalf for those PPACA fees. So initially, the renewal was 10.8%. Horizon made a $581,901 concession. You actually saved $581,901 by negotiating from a 10.8% increase to a 0% increase. I will tell you that this is the only 0% increase that we've delivered for 1/1/14 amongst all of our client base. The prescription drug plan had initially delivered to you from Horizon an increase of 14.5%. And your prescription claims have been tracking at about 100%, which basically means that for every dollar you give to Horizon, they are paying out $1 in claims, unable to recoup any of their administrative costs. So it wasn't as easy to negotiate a decrease to that 14.5%, but we did get Horizon to bring that renewal down to 8%. And the difference between the 14.5% and the 8% is about $141,000 savings to the Township of Franklin. We did go out to the marketplace, and we were able to find one vendor that was going to be about $70,000 less expensive than Horizon's 8% increase. But Horizon would have increased your medical renewal by 2% if you left them for the prescription, because they coordinate medical and prescription together and are able to manage your claims more effectively by doing so. So as a result, that would have cost you $107,000, therefore negating the $70,000 savings, and so we recommended that you stay with Horizon. We did go to the marketplace for the fully insured medical and prescription drug and the self-insured medical and prescription drug. That was what we were able to use to help negotiate your rates lower. There were no carriers that were interested in writing your group for the price that Horizon did ultimately settle in with, though. And we also, as we always do, look at the State Health Benefits Plan. As you know, that's a program that you can enter into each year. And so we want to make sure that you are staying competitive with the State Health Benefits Plan. And I'm pleased to let you know that your cost is lower than the State Health Benefits Plan, and that's used, quite frankly, around the state as being the lowest cost option in many, many of the municipalities throughout the state of New Jersey. But you are about $103,000 less expensive than the State Health Benefits Plan, and your benefits are significantly richer. So if you were to go to the State Health Benefits Plan, you would have an equal to or better than issue you'd have to deal with because your plan benefits are significantly greater and with less cost to you. And finally, on your dental plan, Horizon did come in with about a flat increase, a little bit of a decrease, about a 0.4% decrease. And yet we did go to the marketplace anyway, and we found carriers that were willing to reduce your cost. And so we continued to negotiate with Horizon, and they just recently reduced their renewal by $31,900 more, bringing it to a 10.68% decrease in your dental rates. And although there were some carriers that were a little less expensive, Aetna was a little less expensive than that. You would have saved about $25,000. But once again, if Horizon coordinates your dental with their medical and prescription, then there's a savings there. So your medical would have increased $53,500 if you left Horizon for the dental. So there wasn't enough savings to make a move. So in summary, and I was asked to keep this very brief, so let me just say that in summary, through our negotiations with the different providers, we were able to save you from your initial renewal over $750,000. And it is our pleasure to do so. We enjoy working with the township manager and the human resource folks as well. And we look forward to working in 2014 to better deliver the best health insurance that we possibly can. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah. Do we have any comments from the
I do have a
council?
comment. Yes. Stuart, I'd like to say you've done a phenomenal job here.
Thank you.
To be able to save $750,000 and still deliver a quality health care plan for the township employees is a wonderful thing. And we appreciate your service and the work that you've done
Thank
for
you very
Franklin
much.
Township. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilman Regan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, Stuart, I do want to extend my thanks, and also to, Mr. Vornlacher and his staff, who works with you diligently. When this topic comes up in the Finance Oversight Committee, it is, always of concern to us to drive down our costs, to maintain or contain our costs, so that way it reflects in not having a tax increase. So partnering with us and working with our staff is great for all the citizens here and the residents of our township, because it helps to keep our costs lower. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Vassallo.
Oh, just, yes, there was times years back that we didn't know if it was really worth the fees, commissions, whatever you're receiving, and I must say, in recent years, as I've been monitoring it, I'm glad we kind of pushed you to tell us why, because you've been coming up with wonderful things each year. So now you've set the standard. We'll expect you to keep producing for us. Again, thank you. I echo the comments of my colleagues.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and if that's it, on behalf of the taxpayers of Franklin Township, we thank you for helping keeping our costs under control and reducing them. So thank you very much.
Thank you all
Appreciate
very much.
it.
Have a good evening.
All right, the mayor has stepped out for a few moments, so I'm currently going to run the meeting for a few minutes. So we're at the public discussion section of the meeting. Do I have a motion to open the meeting to public discussion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The meeting is open for public discussion. So anyone interested, please raise your hand and come forward to the podium. Ladies first.
Good evening, Manija Saba, 146 Emerson Road. Sorry for not being here for months now. Half of it I have been out of the country, and the other part of it I've been running around the country doing different things. But I just want to tell you that I'm so proud and I feel privileged to be living in Franklin Township, especially coming here tonight and hearing that the Council Member Regan and Mayor Levine have introduced the anti-trafficking resolution. It's incredible. And I've always talked, even when I was back home in Iran this summer, I've talked about what a good place I live and how able we are to do things in the township and sensitivity of Franklin Township. And it's heartwarming for me, the things that the public have been able to accomplish during past few years in the township with the help of the council. And also this human trafficking is so dear and important to me because I know that how horrible millions of people are affected by this all the time. The other thing is that I just want to thank, I'm so proud and happy to see that the voters of New Jersey voted for increase of minimum wage and cost of living adjustment. And I'm sure from what I know about Franklin Township, we had a good share in making that happen and possible. Finally, I wanted to encourage, I have no motion or anything, but in the face of hurricane in Philippines and the disaster in Philippines, and in recognition of two resolutions, at least that I have been part of, and I've seen that we have passed against hydraulic fracturing as one of the horrible contributors and future contributors to environmental and health problems. I would like to see that we all come together, maybe public also can help, to come and create a network of townships that we are working with to pass, resolution or ordinances to ban some of the practices and take position of some of the practices that impacts our environment and our health. And I'd like, if anybody wants, even in council person, I've been thinking about that, I'm willing to work with them. Thank you very much for you being here and for all of us to be here. Thanks.
Well, thank you for your comments. Mr. Tibbs.
Johnny's Tibbs, 25 Parkside. I lost a couple of teeth. I've been working so hard. Y'all have to forgive me. Has the audio been on last week? I heard you guys, but I didn't see you guys. I couldn't hear nothing. The last meeting, did you guys know that you guys, the audio was off? Is it still off?
That's actually what Councilman Kramer was saying earlier. Apparently, the audio is not broadcasting live, but it is being recorded. So on the recorded versions of the council meeting, it should
It was like that last week, too, last council meeting.
We didn't know that, when it was happening.
It was a
Actually,
mistake.
I believe last council meeting, it was Verizon that wasn't putting out audio, and now this
I have
council meeting.
Comcast, and I was looking at you
Okay.
guys, and I couldn't hear
Maybe it's
nothing,
both.
no words you were saying.
So that
It was
sounds
a-
like an advantage.
It was a mistake. We actually only wanted that to
I
happen
don't
for the
think
mayor
so,
when
Bill.
he was speaking.
Well,
But
I don't think so.
the variable got set that
You-
it happened for all of us.
You say it like it's a bad thing.
No, it's
No, we take it seriously, and I'm sure Manager Warlock
Well,
will keep
I think the public
on
want to hear
top
what
of
you
the
got to say at
IP.
all times.
Yeah.
But I only came here
We don't
for
wanna get
one
mixed
thing.
up
I'll be
with
very
that.
brief. I just came here to congratulate each one of the candidates that ran for election. Like I said before in the last meeting I had, I think it was a well-run campaign. I think you guys did an excellent job in doing your job, very ethically done, without any bad tricks or anything that, of course, our opposing partners decided to do some of the things, but I don't think we did. And I'd like for you guys to know that even before this, I had always said that as long as you continue to run the town properly and to build new parks for the residents and And I want to commend Councilman Wright, because the last time I came here, I was talking about fixing certain roads. But I meant to come here the following week. I was going to come here and ask you guys to please to fix Franklin Boulevard, since that's one of the major roads in the town. And as I was thinking about it, I seen them out there fixing Franklin Boulevard, and I was quite happy. And they did an excellent job on Franklin Boulevard. They did an excellent job. Now it looks like a war zone on Eastern Avenue, but it's pretty much done. It's beautifully done. And I think you guys should be commended for the work that you're performing at this particular time. And I think the town recognizes the work that you've been doing in the past, and I'm sure they recognize it because it was indication in the election, past election. And long as you guys continue to work on the budgets and keep your budget at a pace where you can possibly find a way to lower the taxes here in Franklin Township, which was on every citizen's mind, and continually to bring about the type of cultural activities that's necessary for Franklin Township. I think that you guys continually do a wonderful job in the near future, and hopefully I'll be around to help you do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tibbs. Mr. Tibbs, is there anyone else who would like to comment at this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Seeing no one come forward, a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed. Thank you all for your comments this evening. We now move on to item number 9 on the agenda, standing committee reports. The first one is the Administration Committee. We haven't had a meeting, or have we had one?
We didn't have a meeting.
We haven't,
Last-
okay. So there's no report there. Financial Oversight. Councilman Kramer.
Financial Oversight did meet. We discussed 4 items, but 3 of them are related to negotiation, so I will not discuss them. The other thing we did was we discussed the third quarter financial report. Basically, we look at spending periodically to see, are we on track, are we going over, are we going under, and I'm proud to say, in general, we're a little bit underspending, and that's a good thing. So everyone's, just because they were given money doesn't mean they're out there necessarily spending it, but they are spending it where they should be, so that people are getting the services that we wish them to get. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was brief, succinct. Public Safety.
We did not have a meeting this month. I think we'll be having one beginning of next month, but I did want to point out on the ordinances, introduction of ordinances, number 15 tonight. I'll let the attorney, when they come up, explain what they actually mean, but there's a couple ordinances, one having to do with limousine, taxi cab, limousine licensing, permitting, and whatnot, which came through the Public Safety Committee, and I believe we were discussing, I'm not sure if this is the exact work product, but the ordinance having to do with the licensing of massage, body work, and other therapies, physical therapy, or ordinance number 4044-13. Again, I'll let the attorney give the details of what it means, but when they come up. But these are items that we've been working on for several months, and this and other ordinances will be coming forward probably after the first of the year, relevant to the committee's work.
Okay, thank you. We now have Land Use, Open Space, Parks, and Recreation.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Carl Wright.
2 just little small items. The plans for Catalpa Park will be reviewed by our Recreation Advisory Committee, and that meeting is tomorrow night with our township engineer. Also, Mr. Sipowicz, who's the Director of Recreation, will update the committee on the usage of Neiman Williams Park Pool for this past summer, so that next summer we can adjust our times to the area. Also, we're going to look at where the children came from and where we need to do a better outreach program. And that's it, Mr. Mayor. Oh, Oh, no, that's it.
Okay, thank you. And final of our standing committees is Public Works. Councilman Ted Chase.
The Public Works Committee met on October 29th. The primary business was to hear from Somerset County recycling personnel about their proposal that Franklin Township be the first big township to move to single-stream recycling. The county plans to do this for all towns, but wants to try it in Franklin first. They've already introduced it in Greenbrook and South Bound Brook and made some adjustments as a result of experiences there. The county will supply a 95-gallon container into which all recyclables can be put. No tying up of newspapers or magazines necessary. This will be picked up by a truck with a single arm which picks up and dumps the container, similar to garbage pickup. It is expected that this will increase the amount of material recycled. It did in South Bound Brook and Greenbrook, as it will be simpler to put recyclables into the container. However, they will have to work with the various townhouse and condo developments where people may not have garages to put these containers in, and where they've been doing the recycling at a central point. But they've already had some experience with that in Greenbrook. They will put out a proposal for bids from private companies. The companies have mechanized sorting procedures which will make sorting by residents unnecessary. And it's planned that this for Franklin would go into effect about next June, after extensive publicity to the people of the town about the new procedure. The committee then considered a revised version of a water conservation ordinance. This is something I've been working on even since before I came on council as a Sustainable Jersey action. This revised version would be advisory rather than mandatory for most single-family homes, given the difficulty of enforcement. It would be mandatory for homes which are on wells on small lots due to the possibility of drawing down the local water table by excessive watering. The basic idea is to recommend that you water only 2 days a week and water before 9 o'clock in the morning when the water is better absorbed and less evaporated. The real emphasis of the ordinance is on proper programming of automatic controllers and irrigation systems such as are used by larger users, so that you don't have spray irrigation going off when it's raining, for instance, or when the ground is already thoroughly wet. The committee recommended this ordinance to council for passage, though Councilman Vasanella still thinks it should be watering 3 days a week rather than 2. Finally, the committee considered new procedures for recommending roads for repaving based on observation and recommendation by 3 viewers out of Public Works, not just one, and classifying roads on an A to F scale, F being those most needing immediate repaving. In future, records will be kept of when roads are repaved so that the next need can be better judged. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now we come to item number 9 on the agenda, council comments.
Yeah.
So we'll first start here, Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I'd like to give my congratulations to the promotion of our new Sergeant, Sean Hubben. I'm so used to calling him Detective Sean, so I'm going to have to get used to calling him Sergeant Hubben now. He's been working with the Franklin Youth Initiative, heading up the Public Safety Subcommittee on the Franklin Youth Initiative for the last 5 years, and he's been very instrumental in working with our police department and providing services to our youth. In particular, he was very instrumental in getting that gang prevention program in the middle school as well as the police academy. He persevered. I can remember him coming to the meetings and saying, I have nothing to report. But he would come to every meeting and say, I have nothing to report. And that went on for 2 years. And he finally was able to come up with funding. He investigated a lot of different programs like Scared Straight. I mean, he put a lot of time in with our Franklin youth. And so I'm just real pleased to see people do say, sometimes you work hard and it doesn't pay off, but I'm a witness, a living witness, that hard work does pay off, and I think the fact that he got promoted, it shows the multifacets of his abilities. So I'd just like to say congratulations to Sergeant Sean Hubben. And also like to say congratulations to my council colleagues that have become re-elected. Very, very nice to have you back. Work with you another 4 years, hopefully. And I'd also like to say that my prayers go out to the victims of the storm over in the Philippines, and that my prayers go out to our fellow councilman, Rajiv Prasad, and I wish him a speedy recovery. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I would like to, again, offer thanks as we celebrated Veterans Day yesterday to honor all our veterans. You know, when I was younger, you know, after Vietnam, there went a period where, you know, relative to war conflicts, the United States, we weren't involved in a lot of activities and a lot of places. But as I got older, that changed certainly in the last, you know, 10, 12 years, or I guess going on 15 now. We've been involved in conflicts and in wars, and it really has affected a lot of American families, not only the men and women who go to serve, but also the families that are left here. The majority of those families, members that go to serve, leave a family that now has a single parent. And that's difficult for the parent left here. It's also difficult on the children. So when men and women join the military and go to that service, go into service for our country, it's not only them, but it's their families that we offer thanks to, because they are as much of a part of that effort as the men and women that go. On some items, to highlight some items today that we're going to deal with. In a resolution, we have, there's a grant application for holiday sober event that we're applying to do DWI checks between a certain period. I think it's December 12th to January 1st. Obviously, very important time. Sometimes people go out and they tend to celebrate a little too much. And if you do that, that's fine. But have your friend drive you home and didn't celebrate, or call a taxi cab. But please do not drive on our roads in Franklin. We value the lives of all our residents and citizens and all those who travel through Franklin to get to someplace else. So be mindful of that, especially as we come into the holiday season, because our finest of Franklin will be out there, and they will be looking. That also goes for texting, which is still a problem. All right, we have a second reading tonight of an ordinance of leasing the land to the Southbound Brook Little League. This was, you know, we had a lot of time, we talked about this a lot on the last council meeting. I won't spend a lot of time talking about it now, other than tonight is the second reading. So again, something very good. I guess the next thing. So this one, you know, I feel bad that I have to bring this up, but during the elections, a lot of things are said, printed, and unfortunately, when stuff is printed in the paper and there are attacks made upon the council, then regardless of whether I ran or not, I want to respond, especially to something that was so outrageous as was reported in one of the candidates running against one of the Democrats, stated that a police officer a number of years ago had to retire because he was hurt, because this candidate stated that the council reduced the police and that police officer hurt in an incident. The response was delayed because of the reduced amount of police officers on the force, and that because of he didn't get back up in time. He was hurt and went out on a pension reduce. I was concerned about that because that obviously is a very serious issue if we had that case. I personally called and spoke to the chief, Larry Roberts, and he said that feel free for me to make these comments, that Chief Larry Roberts said that is absolutely not the truth, nowhere near the truth. I would want to call it a lie if I knew the man had the intention of misleading people. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he heard something and he didn't do his homework and he put down some fact or listed something as a fact in his profile or in his goals. That was just inaccurate. So I just want to be clear about anybody who read that was a very inaccurate statement for someone to make. And, we encourage, in the democracy, it's great that everybody runs, but, if you're going to make statements, you need to do your homework, because you just can't say anything you want and call it a fact. Relative to the elections, congratulations again to all the council ward members who were reelected. I believe, as a whole, we've demonstrated that this council serves the best interests of the council, of the residents and the citizens of this town, and it's just good to have all our peers come back on. And that is it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman James Fasenella.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a handful of items. First thing, and I probably should have checked earlier, but I don't know if we're allowed to, in reference to the disaster in the Philippines, but if we are allowed to put any nonprofit organizations that are collecting money or any other items to help that relief effort, and we are legally allowed, I ask that we put that on our website. We have a large, I consider a significant Filipino group of residents in Franklin, and I'm sure there's organizations there working to help with the relief. So I want to mention a program, a very important program. I'm not sure the exact number of people who rent in Franklin Township versus purchasing, owning the home they live in. I looked into it and I remember something about 1 out of 4. I could be wrong, but the point is there are thousands and thousands of rental units in Franklin Township. There's a program here that I wanted to mention. It is free, and even if you've rented before and know a lot about renting, there are so many details about it that will help you in your process of renting, and if you rent now, perhaps the next apartment you consider or home you consider renting. And that's December 10th, Tuesday evening, and I'll just read this real quick. If you're considering renting an apartment, you don't know what a landlord may require of you, Central Jersey Housing Resource Center is hosting Rental Realities on Tuesday evening, December 10th, 2013. The program's free. It's held at our library here in Franklin. I don't think you actually have to be a Franklin resident. The information is there for everyone. I'm hearing that anybody can attend. Obviously, it's geared towards our Franklin residents, but it's really important. The seminar begins promptly at 5:30. It ends at 8:30. There's going to be a lot of guest experts to be able to give you information and answer questions. It's brought to you by a bunch of companies in the area that made donations to Central Jersey Housing Resource Center to allow this to partake. But please, it's not just for new renters, not just for people who had problems, anybody. The information is invaluable. And I wanted to comment on Ms. Saba. Thank you for coming forward. I've been watching a lot about the storm. I enjoy, it's one of my hobbies, following weather around the world. And whether it completely caused it, minimally caused it, obviously global warming, whatever you think, however significant you think it is or isn't, I think everybody still, or most people, I should say, support the idea that it's an issue on some level, and anything we could do to help deter future global warming and the effects is good, and I gladly would work with you. I think we worked together on some ordinances or resolutions in the past. We have limited authority, of course, but we can try to do what we can do. Thank you, John Tibbs, for the comments you made. And just a quick comment about the program that Councilman Chase mentioned. It's in its infant stages. The I call a consolidated recycling effort. Franklin, in a way, is, I think, privileged to be able to be in on the beginning of this. A lot more information will come. It's in its infant stages. There will be a big effort in education/information for the public before that would become effective. But from what we've seen so far, it's a win-win situation. They may, at the end of the day, actually provide a little bit of tax relief by the increase in tonnage, and we'll explain more about that and have the experts in to address the public probably in the first few months of next year. Veterans, just, I don't even think about it, but at some time, or since I was a child, there's usually been some relative of mine that is serving in the military, served in the military. My father was in World War II, and a whole list of other relatives, and not that they did anything wonderfully heroic, but when Councilman Regan mentioned, I'm sure everyone in the audience has had some personal connection with family or friends that have served, and sometimes unfortunate that they were injured or killed at some point in their service. So thank you to everyone that served, and thank you to the families who have to deal with the aspects of a family member serving. The prayers out to Rajiv, who hopefully will mend quickly and be back here helping us govern the next year. And the congratulations to John Clyde. There's a lot of reports that I read, have read in the last 10 years relevant to open space, trails, ecotourism, and usually John is somehow on the committee or actively involved with the creation of the report, and just in general is a dedicated servant in that respect, besides having served up here on council for many years. I think that's about it, Mayor, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Ted Chase.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank all of those who voted for me for re-election, and also assure even those who didn't vote for me that I do represent them and will, any needs that they bring to me, I will attempt to get satisfied. I want to tell the people of Franklin about a new recycling program we're going to institute for soft plastic, soft polyethylene. The most obvious thing are the plastic grocery bags, which you probably are used to returning to your supermarket, but also newspaper wrappers and things like bubble wrap that are not normally recycled. All of these will have barrels out at a number of locations, at the municipal building, the senior center, the library branch in south of Franklin Park, and at the Public Works building to collect this. And what is collected will be then brought by Public Works personnel to a central location from which a representative of a company in Piscataway, which uses this plastic to create new plastic items, will pick it up and take it there. And in fact, the township will be paid for this plastic. We're not going to get rich off it. It's something like 5 or 6 cents, at best, per pound, and it takes a lot of that material to make up a pound. But we will be getting some small contribution towards the township budget, as well as the satisfaction of recycling even more material. This is material which the county does not currently pick up. I'd also mention that at the League of Municipalities meeting next week, the township will be recognized for being recertified at the bronze level by Sustainable Jersey. And in the coming year, the Green Team is going to make a push to, next year, I hope, be certified at the silver level, which requires a good many more actions. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Phil Kramer.
So my congratulations to Sergeant Hebben and to the chief for keeping a well-organized police force, keeping it running smoothly and promoting whenever he can for the good of his officers and for the good of the town. I didn't speak much about the election because I was running and I didn't want to make it sound like sour grapes as I spoke. I have to thank Councilman Regan for speaking out about the scheduling of the Senate election. I think that was outrageous. He said it well. It was a waste of $12 million. I don't need to go over it anymore, but I did want to speak once the election was passed. In regard to the election, last election, which I wasn't involved in, I did point out some glaring inaccuracies in literature. I'm pointing them out now for the purposes of education, not to point fingers. In the second ward, there was literature that went out that said we had increased, well, actually, Councilwoman Sherman, all by herself, had increased taxes 30%. That is not true. Of course, we only make up 15% of the tax, so to do that, we would have had to, I think, have increased the municipal tax by 300% in order to increase by 30%. But in fact, council did increase its municipal tax significantly. We did increase it by 21%. I will point out that the state average was 18%. And a big part of that is because the state, Trenton, was taking away things such as municipal aid. So the state aid to the town, to Franklin, was down $1.3 million. So that made their balance sheet look good, but our balance sheet look bad. I'd like to thank the voters for recognizing what this council did over the last 4 years. When we took council, we took office, we were going to run out of money in 2.5 years. We're here 4 years later, so obviously we didn't run out of money. So we had to make choices in order to do that, and I think we were fiscally responsible by having to increase taxes. It was painful. We didn't like it. But we also reduced spending by 5.1%. Part of that was extremely painful. We laid off 10 police officers. We also kept the services up during all of that. So there were a lot of hard choices to make, and I think the township recognized that by the way they voted, that there were hard choices, but they recognized that we were fiscally conservative and properly minded. In the third ward, the literature was also inaccurate. It was inaccurate in many areas. I won't bore everyone by going through it line by line, so just because I don't mention something does not mean that it was accurate. But it was said that we have not spent 1 cent on upgrading parks in town. I invite the person who wrote that to view Middlebush Park. Maybe we should get an award for building Middlebush Park without spending a cent. But in fact, we spent $7.1 million, and that was out of open space, recreation, historic preservation, and farmland preservation money. So that was done without raising taxes. It was from tax money already contributed. It was also indicated that the township was remiss in not repairing bridges throughout the town. Bridges are the property or the responsibility of the county. So that would be the freeholders that would be responsible for that. And as far as I know, they're doing a good job with that. I don't know of any bridges that are in need of repair other than those that are scheduled for repair, such as on Amwell Road and on Bennett's Lane. There are two bridges that are going to be repaired. And then there was the allegation that we are not monitoring overweight trucks on our streets. That is by state law, can only be done by state police. And the instances when we've asked them to come to town, their cutbacks did not allow them financially to be able to do that. So I do not think that would be the township's fault for not doing that. There were, as I said, there were some other inaccuracies, but I won't go into all of them. And I believe that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Carl Wright.
Mr. Mayor, I take a couple seconds here. The New Jersey Family of Essential Source for New Jersey Moms. And what they did was, across the state, they looked at all the places to live, towns, counties, cities, you name it, they looked at it, to come up with the top 10 list of areas for families just starting out. And if I may, real quickly, one of the criteria was, does the town have public schools, good public schools? We measure schools according to academic performance with the ratings from the Great Schools Association. This nonprofit compares a given school's standardized test scores to the state average to obtain a rating from 1 to 10, 10 representing the highest score. Higher ratings led to a higher overall score. Can you afford to live there? We looked at both median home values in each town and ongoing monthly costs, including mortgage payments, real estate taxes, insurance costs, utilities, fuel, and other bills. Lower bills led to a higher overall score. Is the town growing and prospering? We assess the town's economy by looking at median household income and income growth over the last decade. Higher income and greater growth, once again, led to a higher overall score. Now, Mr. Township Manager, I love the fact that we were rated number 9, but I think we should shoot for number 1. And number 9 comes in, Somerset is an unincorporated area in Franklin Township. The surrounding area is home to big employers, and commuters drive an average of an hour to get to Manhattan. The top industries include pharmaceuticals, technology, and communication. The county also includes 13,000 acres of parks where residents can play golf, picnic, hike, bike, and swim. Now, we were rated number 9, and Somerville was rated number 1. And Sayreville was rated number 1. And I think we should climb up a little bit. We're beautiful at number 9, but I think if we work just a little bit harder, we can move up. So that's one thing I brought up. The second item is the Hamilton Street Business District. Our township manager is going to update us on some developments in that area. So I'll wait to Robert Vornlocker to update us. And last but not least, Sergeant Hibben. He's a member of our fraternity, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, of which I am a proud member. And I just want to congratulate him and let the world know that my organization continues to bring in bright, intelligent people that shines a light everywhere we go, because we're men of distinction. We try to do better. We try to do better for ourselves and our families and the community in whole. So once again, on behalf of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, I would like to thank him. Mr. Mayor, all yours.
Okay, thank you. And go down. Go down. Okay, and before we get to the deputy mayor, I'm going to ask our manager, Mr. Robert Vornlocker, give us a briefing on a couple things.
But the primary thing I'd like to give council a briefing on tonight is related to the Hamilton Street Business and Community Corporation, which is the nonprofit corporation that oversees the Special Improvement District taxes and how it's spent on the Hamilton Street Special Improvement District. In early October, it was brought to my attention that there were some concerns regarding two particular issues as they relate to the corporation. One was related to the finances of the corporation, and the second was related to recent appointments and dismissals and appointments to the Board of Trustees of the corporation. It was suggested that I attend a special meeting that was being called for on October 9th, I believe was the date. So I began to look into it immediately after being advised of some issues. I was supplied with some documentation by the executive director, Michael Pappas. It became apparent to me that there were several issues relating to quorums and necessary members of the Board of Trustees as it related to the special meeting that was being called for on the 9th. I conferred with our township attorney regarding my standing as it related to this particular circumstance, and certainly it was brought to my attention by Mr. Raynone that we are the funding source here, and the township is the funding source to the corporation. Therefore, I did have standing related to that. I met with the group of members of what was then identified as the Board of Trustees on the 9th, and that meeting, due to the fact that according to their bylaws, there was a question as to membership on the Board of Trustees. There was no special meeting. I obtained all of the financial records that could be provided to me by the accountant for the corporation through Mr. Pappas, check registers, reconciliation records for the previous 2 years. I also obtained a copy of the bylaws, and in review of the bylaws with Mr. Raynone, it became apparent early on that the Board of Trustees, as it existed, or as we presumed it to exist, had not been installed according to the bylaws of the corporation. And given that fact, that it was also apparent that the only 3 members properly installed on the Board of Trustees were the 3 council members that were appointed, the mayor, Councilman Wright, and Councilman Vassanella. A subsequent meeting was held with all of the members, previous members. I don't even know how to refer to them, and perhaps Mr. Raynone can chime in at some point here. That the former members, the people who were believed to be members of the Board of Trustees was held this past Thursday here, and Mr. Raynone and I informed all of those members that this matter would be turned over to council due to the fact that there is no longer a properly constituted Board of Trustees of the Hamilton Street Business and Community Corporation. And so here we are tonight, and that's what I have to report at this particular moment.
Thank you. I was getting technical advice.
Mayor?
Appreciate. Did you want to?
I just wanted
Oh,
to
add
ask our
something,
manager.
Councilman Vassanella?
Just one other thing, and
Deputy Mayor.
Bob, if it's, for some reason, you didn't want to bring it up, just let me know, I understand, but could you just clarify upon the review of the financial records, just to be clear as to whether everything, understanding the problem with the membership and the installment of the board, and we'll attempt to deal with that later tonight, but in reference to any of the finances, I know there had been several concerns. Could you elaborate on your findings of after reviewing that?
What I can state as far as the finances are concerned is that it would appear, based on my investigation, that all of the checks issued by the corporation were issued properly, they were endorsed properly, and they seem to be, as best I can tell, based on the information supplied to me, for legitimate expenses, without, digging deeper, and that was the outcome of that portion of my investigation.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that update. Now, Deputy Mayor Rosalind Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I received anywhere from 12 to 15 emails from members of the World Wildlife Federation, assuming other council people have received those emails, but if not, I thought what they were talking about was a very a worthwhile program, and one I'd like to perhaps spend some time with Councilman Chase talking about, especially since it fits in with the Green Team proposal. It's getting both large and small municipalities to leverage the community choice aggregation programs to achieve local objectives having to do with renewable energy sources. And they list communities that have adopted this and have made some strides that I think we would be in the forefront if we were to get involved with something like this. And I think it's something Franklin ought to look into. So I thank everyone who sent me that information. I will pursue it, and I will see if indeed Franklin can join into this program and become known for its cutting-edge technology as far as renewable energy sources. I think it's very important that we all consider these things extremely carefully and seriously. I also want to express my appreciation to the veterans of this country. There are no words that can really express what we owe, the debt of gratitude that we owe to these men and women. But I'm also very sad to say that they are not being respected in the way that they ought to in certain areas. I read in the paper today that the cut in the food stamp program that Congress has approved, which is to me a very shameful thing. It's really extremely disturbing. But there are 900,000 veterans who will be cut from the food stamp rolls. I mean, I ache for mothers and children and what they will think people going hungry in this country. But our veterans are also affected by this. How terribly sad. And then this has also been written up in the newspapers. Many of the charities that are out there geared toward veterans are rated very poorly, D's and F's. You have to be extremely careful where you direct your charity toward the support of veterans. There are some wonderful ones, but you need to be careful. You need to investigate where you send your contributions, because there are many of them, and they seem to cluster in that area. I use a charity rating program myself, and I have a hard time finding a veterans charity that I want to contribute to, because some of them to me are out and out frauds. So just be careful, just a thought. The last thing I just want to talk about, of course, is the Franklin Township Cultural Arts Council. There is a program coming up at the end of November, on November 30th. It is in conjunction with the library. It's an author who has written several books, and I am embarrassed to say I forgot his name. But it will be great. So I suggest you look at our website or at our Facebook page, and let me give you that. The website is franklincac.org, and facebook.com/franklincac, and check out our programs. That's the only thing left for this month, but there'll be more coming, so hopefully you'll you'll check it out and attend this and get on our mailing list so you can hear and see what programs we have available. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And I guess the only thing I'll put in is to reiterate the Veterans Day. That's, you're right, and then they had at Spring Hills, the Veterans event. That was very nice for the people there, many of them World War II veterans. And you're right about remembering those people. And a good point also made was about charities. That's some organizations, though technically not illegal, are mostly raising money for themselves. For checking it out is a good idea. And I won't bore you with any of my other comments because I'm not as eloquent as my colleagues. So that concludes my comments. So now we go to our council discussion items. We already did item 1, BGIA presentation. And so now we go to item number 2, the proposed 2014 Township Council meeting schedule. And so if you help me a little, Ms. McCarthy. I think it's all normal except November is running into Veterans Day. Is that what happened?
Right, the first council meeting in November falls on Veterans Day, so I have it proposed from the day before on the 10th. And January is skewed too, because you guys chose to have the first regular meeting on January 7th instead of waiting until the 14th.
Okay, so in January, we'll have it on the 1st and 4th Tuesdays.
It'll be well, you'll have reorg on January 1st, and then the 2 meetings would be the 7th and the 21st.
Okay. Then our quote-unquote normal schedule, 2nd and 4th Tuesdays, except July, August, and December, it's the 1st Tuesday. And what was the conclusion on November? Where was that?
I propose to have that first November meeting on the 10th on a Monday instead of,
okay.
The building's closed on the 11th, so.
Okay, good point. All right. So that's the proposed schedule. Is there a motion for that or discussion? We would make a motion as a
Question,
resolution?
Mayor?
We usually come back at the next meeting with a resolution that you'll adopt.
Oh, okay.
After
So we'll just get,
everybody's okay.
we'll get a census of the council now. Councilman Vasanella?
I have a question, Mayor. For the November 10th meeting, I have no problem with the schedule. I just, if that becomes a regular meeting date, then I don't know what groups may meet on that Monday, but we have that, I think, a standing ordinance that no groups, these commissions, boards, committees, which a lot of council members or liaisons to, would meet on the same night. So if there are any, they would be informed so that they could reschedule their meeting for Monday to November 10th.
Right, that's why it's good to do the schedule now, so I have enough time to let everybody, all the
Right,
other
because we
boards
don't,
know.
give them as much time, we don't want to inconvenience them, but it does, to me, seem like the schedule, the Monday you chose in November to make sense for council to meet. So that's the only question I had.
Okay, so that would be Monday the 10th instead of Tuesday the 11th, and then back on the regular schedule. And Election Day is the prior week, and I think the league is the subsequent.
Is the following.
Okay, that's good. So is that anything else, or is that the census of the council to do that? Okay.
Fine
Thanks.
with
And if the council chooses a retreat like we have in past years, we'll pick that up at some other time. Okay, so that'll come to us as a resolution next meeting. Thank you. Then we have draft 2014 Township Council reorganization meeting agenda. So turn to Ms. McCarthy. Was given to us anything of significance you want to point out there?
Let me just open it. I just used a prior one. It's got a lot of blanks in it. It's up to you guys how you want to run your reorg, so.
Okay. Is there,
Is that something else, Mayor, then we would have a resolution come forward the next meeting if we didn't have any?
No,
Is that-
usually you guys just direct me as to how you want me to prepare the agenda for reorg. Yeah, you don't take any actual action. It's just more.
technically, it's kind
consensus.
of like every other agenda. It's just that this one's a little bit different because it's
Correct.
reorg.
Mhm.
Yes, Councilman Chase?
I just wanted to mention, I know Councilman Prasad is very anxious to get members reappointed to the Human Relations Commission. In fact, he wanted to have them reappointed before the end of this year, which I suspect is technically improper. It should be done by the new council, even if it's the same members. So I wondered if we could add the Human Relations Commission as one more group to be appointed on the 1st.
Mr. Mayor?
Can add those.
Okay. And anything else? Oh, Councilman Regan?
Yeah, I'd like to make I guess a proposal. I thought in the past, we've kind of designated one or two council people to kind of go work this offline and come back with a proposal. Anne Marie's nodding her head. So I'd like to make a proposal that the mayor and the deputy mayor work this offline, narrow it down, streamline it, so that way, because this, I don't know if, I think the goal of January 1st would be basically to do the required appointments on that day.
And those are the required appointments.
All these that are listed are required?
Yes.
Oh,
Those are the
wonderful.
ones that we streamlined it down: planning, Board of Adjustment, historic, and environmental.
Wow. Okay. So anyway, I stand with my proposal that let's go have the deputy mayor and the mayor go work it offline.
Okay, thank you for that. And also, any suggestions come to myself, the deputy mayor, the clerk, or the manager. Councilman Chase?
Well, I think, of course, our clerk will be asking those members who are up for, whose terms are expiring, whether they wish to be reappointed. And I think what we usually do is at least make all of the appointments of the, where people are simply being reappointed. That can be done, pretty much all in a body for, in order to make the meeting move more smoothly. And if there are any vacancies after that, we could even leave the vacancies until the following week. But in many cases, these boards need to have reappointments made so that they can have quorums at their first meetings, particularly the planning board, because there are a number of the positions are one-year appointments who need to be reappointed. But I think in the past, we've been able to do this very efficiently.
That's actually a very good point. Usually we've said.
The
we
letters
want
to the people whose terms are expiring are going out this week, so we'll know by the end of, the end of the month, beginning of December, who wants to be reappointed.
And I think if this is difficult, let me know. I think in the past we've seen people's attendance also.
Yeah, you'll have that at the end of this week, too.
Oh, you're way ahead of us, as I knew you would be. Thanks.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Vasanella?
Yeah, the process played out well in the last several years, so I assume it's good we're talking about it now, but we'll get all that information. I just wanted to point out, and I don't want to assume anything. I'm assuming it was just a mistake here. It says Administration and Financial Oversight as a standing committee. It looks like it's one committee. My understanding is it's still two separate committees.
Still two separate. I might
Okay.
have just picked it up wrong from the other one.
Yeah, not a problem. I just want to make sure that wasn't a proposed change that I wasn't aware of. And then, the way it's been described, it seems to be working better every year, so whatever we can accomplish, and we'll work through the mayor and our deputy mayor for a consensus with that.
Okay, good. And with the specifics will come before the council, too. Anything else?
No, we can move on.
Okay. Okay, then we've got item 11.4, Franklin Boulevard repaving project. Oh, Councilman, maybe I'll come back to that when he returns? Sure. Okay. So now we have item number 12, approval of minutes. So the minutes for the meeting, work session, regular meeting of...
Oh, here he is back.
Okay. All right. I'll bite my tongue. All right. So, council discussion for Franklin Boulevard repaving project. Councilman Carl Wright.
Mr. Mayor, since our freeholder isn't here this evening, just to give the residents an update, some time ago, Zaborowski, I think that's, he's one of our freeholders, and he was also a council member here in Franklin Township. I gave him a phone call and I
Mayor.
said, you know what? We need paving on Franklin Boulevard because it's bad. Anyone that's driven on Franklin Boulevard knows your car needs an update. Your car needs wheels, tires, shocks, springs, whatever it is, because of the road on Franklin Boulevard. A phone call, an email back, another phone call, an email back, and he said, Carl, I'm going to put it on the list at the county. I got an email. As a matter of fact, the township manager found out before I did. They put it on the schedule. He called me and said, Carl, it's going to get done. So if you're on Franklin Boulevard in the last 2 weeks, you'll notice that you have a smooth ride. Now, it went from Eastern Avenue to Hamilton Street, inclusive. We went past Hamilton Street, and he said, well, Carl, you really don't need that to be paved because it's pretty good. So we left it, and that's from Hamilton to 27, which is also Somerset Street. So I want to thank him for, and I thought he was going to be here this evening. I want to thank him for taking this action because it is a county road, so we couldn't have done it on ourselves. And after so many years of myself driving on that road, I want to say thank you to former mayor?
Mayor, yeah, he was a mayor at one point.
Councilman, now a freeholder in Somerset. I want to thank him for his actions. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So, now we'll go to item number 12 on the agenda, approval of minutes. Presented to the Township Council for approval are the following minutes. The work session regular meeting of the Township Council, October 8th, 2013, and the work session regular meeting of the Township Council, October 22nd, 2013. Is there a motion for the aforementioned minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on approval of the minutes.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have approval of the warrants. The warrants are the bills that we pay. Warrants in the amount of $3,545,152.34 on November 12th, 2013 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Is there a motion to pay the warrants as read?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on payment of the warrants.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have public hearing and adoption of ordinance on second reading. Generally, ordinances are voted on twice. There's a first vote on them. Then usually the next meeting or two, there's a second vote on them. At that second meeting, we have a public hearing where anyone from the public can speak on that ordinance. So when I ask about, can speak about that ordinance in particular. If it passes a second time, then it goes into law. So we have one public hearing and second reading. That's item 14.1 on the agenda. It's ordinance 4041-13, an ordinance authorizing the lease of certain premises owned by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset to South Boundbrook Somerset Little League for utilization as Little League Baseball Complex. And that's, as I think Councilman Regan referred to before, it's our lease to them, a 5-year lease for $1 per year. The Township Attorney has approved the affidavit of publication. The public hearing is in order. Is there a motion to open the meeting for public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public hearing on this particular ordinance. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
Seeing no one coming forward, Mayor, I motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Seconded.
Of hearing.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed for this ordinance. Thank you. Is there a motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 14-1, ordinance 4041-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Then we have 4 ordinances on first reading. First of which is 15A on the agenda, ordinance 4042-13. It's ordinance to amend the municipal code, chapter 226, vehicles and traffic, more particularly code section 227-10, stopping or standing prohibited at all times on certain streets, to delete Pine Street and to add Matilda Avenue, and code section 226-13, parking prohibited on all times on certain streets, to amend Matilda Avenue. This is, it comes from public safety,
Yep.
and basically it deals with the road that's a hazard because it's kind of narrow, so rules on the road are being changed via this ordinance.
I think it's really because what was Pine Street is now Matilda Avenue.
Yes.
Because the previous Matilda Avenue was cut off on the building of the Leewood Homes and is now Coolidge Court.
Oh, okay. That's the crux of it there. Okay, thank you. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, November 26, 2013, at 7:00 p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
Motion to introduce.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And just to come back, for Councilman Chase, thanks a lot for that. Want to make it clear what we're happening, and
Yeah.
I need the corrections every
So
once
it's not
in a while.
really changing anything.
Okay.
Clear.
Okay, thanks for that. All right. Okay, Ms. McCarthy, please pull the council on item 15A, ordinance 15,
Yeah, because you had this.
yeah, A, sorry, 4042-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we have 15B, ordinance 4043-13. Or in some agendas, it's 15-2, either one. An ordinance amending the municipal code of the Township of Franklin, Somerset County, New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 350, taxicabs and limousines, Section 350-3, fees, deleting limousine vehicle fee. This basically brings us in conformity with state laws on limousines, on limousine vehicle fees.
Well,
Any-
That's the only change, is we're removing a fee that shouldn't have been put in the ordinance to begin with.
We had fee changes, right?
Councilman,
That's the only change in this ordinance, is we're deleting the limousine vehicle fee. That's the only change to the ordinance. We already made all the necessary changes a year ago.
To the, okay.
This
To
is just
changing the fee
cleaning up.
structure. Gotcha,
This is
it's
just
cleaning
cleaning it
up.
up.
Gotcha. I know we'd been working off and on for a few years on streamlining these or bringing them into completion. Thank you.
okay. Again, thanks for the clarification. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and a final adoption on Tuesday, November 26, 2013, at 7:00 p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So, seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 15B, ordinance 4043-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay. Next is item 15C, ordinance 4044-13, ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 230, massage, bodywork, and somatic therapy. Delete massage, bodywork, and somatic therapy, therapist application and permit requirements. Okay, so help me if I'm not quite.
Okay, this, as per state statute, the state now licenses therapists, so we no longer have to do so. And the only change is that we're making sure that the establishments that we still license require them to list all the therapists and that they have to prove that they're all state licensed.
Okay, so we still license the establishment. They have to prove that anyone working is licensed by the state.
Correct.
It's basically,
Vasanella?
correct me, Lou, another layer, I guess, for us to be more conscious of that process with the listing of the people with their licenses that are all working at the establishment. Maybe you can clarify.
Right. When we
Minogue?
first drafted and introduced this ordinance, there was no licensing for massage therapists. So we, in an effort to kind of bring some order to businesses that had opened in town, we provided for licensing both the therapists and the establishments. Because we didn't have any, in a barber shop, they're licensed by the state, so we could license a barber shop and we could just require that people have to be licensed by the state to be barbers. We didn't have that then. So now the state has finally caught up with, to a point where they now license massage therapists, so now all we have to do is worry about licensing the establishment, and as Anne Marie said, we just added to that a requirement, like you would in a barber shop, that they have to list in their application all of the people who are licensed massage therapists that are operating out of their business.
Thank you.
Good, the barbershop analogy is a good one.
Yeah.
Similar.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, November 26th, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on item 15C, ordinance 4044-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next is the fourth and final of our ordinance introductions. An ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, Chapter 46, Personnel Policies, Section 46-13, Retirement Benefits, delete subsection C. This basically relates to health care benefits of employees. If someone's here can get, I guess it's lifetime health care, if they're here for 20 years and in the system for 25, is that basically it?
This is deleting the sliding scale that went from 15 years to 20 and the percentages of what the township paid for.
Okay. Okay. All right, thanks. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing, and final adoption on Tuesday, November 26, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Municipal Complex. Their motion to introduce.
So moved.
And moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 15D, ordinance 4045-13, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Now we come to item 16, 16.1 through 16.28, which is our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are items of a general routine nature that can be voted on at one time. It's any council person's prerogative to pull something off for a separate vote or certainly to discuss it. So these items, 16.1 through 28, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Motion for the consent agenda or
Mis-
discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman
discussion.
Regan. Yes, please.
Thank you. I noticed that item number 13-520 talks about accepting a municipal report prepared by the Township Cable Advisory Committee and authorizing the transmission of the municipal report to Comcast and the Office of Cable Television. Lou, as I mentioned to you before, I went through that report. So if you could just clarify what approving this or accepting this really means relative to any of the interactions with Comcast that will occur during the relicensing.
And as I indicated to you before the meeting, the renegotiation and then readoption of the cable franchise is kind of a multi-step process. One part of the process is this ascertainment period in which the council delegated to the Cable Advisory Committee the responsibility for conducting kind of a study and a review of the system generally and the potential needs for the community and the manner in which the community is being served. This report is a result of that process. All we're doing now is essentially accepting the report, forwarding it on to the BPU and to the cable company. While this report has recommendations, it's separate and apart from whatever negotiating items the township might decide to negotiate when they finally do sit down with the cable company. But it is just, once again, it's kind of like establishing the public record of the steps that the council has gone through as it is reviewing and then beginning to negotiate the renewal of its cable franchise.
Thank you, Lou.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other discussion?
Mayor, just
Councilman
wanted to
Fastenal.
point out real quickly, two of the last three items of Resolution 13-525 and 13-526, if I'm reading them correctly, 526 anyway, I'm sorry, I may have jumped the gun, but that's a down payment grant, and my understanding is these grants are a direct product of the program that the Central Jersey Housing Resource Center set up with the help of Mark Healy, and I think Lou helped drafted the ordinance. And basically, in a nutshell, that's money that we have, like we have money in open space trust, different trusts. That was that housing trust fund, which is money that could only be spent on certain items. And there was a big effort, as people may remember, of using it or losing it. I think there's still an effort to grab some away by the state. But this is the result of what the council and the Housing Resource Center came up with, is practical ways to use this money for people that have shown a record of being able to meet their financial obligations and simply need assistance, in this case, a down payment towards the purchase of a house. So these are these results are directly keeping people in Franklin and buying in Franklin with some assistance that otherwise would not be afforded to them, if this is, I'm understanding it correctly. Mr. Reno, that's from the
correct.
program.
That's correct.
Okay. And I encourage people throughout Franklin, the qualifications are all different, so don't assume you qualify, don't assume you don't qualify. If you want to stay in Franklin but you're finding it hard to afford it and you have reasonable credit and capabilities, please talk to the Housing Resource Center, because they may be able to literally provide some free money. And again, this isn't from tax money. This is from contributions from developers over the years that we set aside and can only use for programs like this. I just wanted to point it out. I'm grateful that this program is working the way it is. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the consent agenda or a motion for it?
Motion for passage?
Second.
Moved and second. If nothing else, Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the consent agenda.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Next is resolutions voted on separately, of which we do not have any. Oh, we do? Oh, I thought I heard something. Okay. And following that is old business, which is generally appointments to committees and commissions. Any nominations for any open items? Okay. Can't introduce ordinances
No, it's technically changed.
Okay. That's what I was just getting from our attorney. You won't see in December, just so you know, any ordinance introductions, because even though the personnel on the council is not changing, technically it's a new council, so if we introduce in December, we'd have to approve in January, and that's technically a new council, so any new introductions are going to happen next meeting, unless for some reason we have a special meeting. In January, we'll go back. Okay. So next we have our executive session. There's only a couple times the council, for a few situations where the council can meet an executive session, which is in private, such as contract negotiations, personnel matters, attorney-client privilege. And when the subject of that executive session no longer needs to be kept private, the minutes of those meetings will be made public. So council is going to vote on a resolution for executive session for two items today. It's Resolution 13-524. One is Attorney-Client Privilege, Municipal Ethics Board, and Hamilton Street Business and Community Corporation. So this resolution, 13-524, which is 19 on the agenda, is presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there a motion for the resolution calling for executive session?
So moved.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on Resolution 13-524 for executive session, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Kramer? Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Regan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. We're going to go into the executive session for the items I just stated. After executive session, there will be two things happening. Number one, we will vote to come out of executive session, and number two, we will vote to adjourn the meeting, so no other business beyond those items will take place. We're going to stop the filming now, and we'll see you before Thanksgiving. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.